Hi, and welcome to Muximus, the new network controller from MuxLab, model number 500813. I'm going to show you around and how it works. First, when you plug it in for the first time, you need to run the setup wizard. Click here to enter an admin email. This email address will be where you receive your password recovery email if you forget your password. Let's set this up. Now you can configure the network settings. There are two LAN ports. The first one has full access. LAN port 2 is for making connections to devices. You can't use it for discovery. By default, it's set to a static IP. If you change it and click Next, remember the unit will reboot with the new IP, so you'll need to update the URL in your browser. Here's the dashboard. It gives an overview of your devices, showing which ones are online or offline. Over here, you can see some quick actions. You can define and trigger presets and controls like RS-232, CC, and IR commands. You can add these quick actions to the dashboard for easy access. These are useful to quickly trigger actions. You can choose which ones you see. There's also a notification panel for device status changes and an SMTP option for email notifications. We'll talk about that later. In the Device Manager page, you'll see all your devices and can configure them. Start by clicking the Discovery button, select the product families connected to your network, and click Auto Discover. This will find new devices. You can also refresh the status of existing devices. The system automatically refreshes this status periodically, but you can do it manually if needed. Let's talk about Dante settings. You can connect this to your Dante domain manager by entering the URL and API key. This integration allows you to control both AV and Dante equipment with a single preset. Filters allow you to customize the content you see on the device table and save specific views for later use. You can also customize which columns show in the table. Clicking on a device lets you configure its settings and perform firmware updates on multiple devices at once. Don't worry, if the model numbers in the firmware and device don't match, it won't update it. On the routing page, you can make connections for your devices. For example, you can connect your lobby TV to your Blu-ray player. You can apply the connection immediately or save it as a preset. You can find your presets in the drop-down menu. Saved presets can be accessed from the dashboard or triggered via API commands for third-party control systems. You can change the streaming method or just leave it on auto. A neat feature is that you can preview what's on the screen by clicking this preview button. This preview button is available on all Muximus pages. The Video Walls tab shows all the video walls you've created. Let's use the Visual Selector to edit our layout. You can select a layout and assign sources to specific displays within the video wall. There are other options, but let's choose Vertical Split. You can select a TV and choose any source for that TV. Great! A preview of our video wall and what it's going to look like. You can also make advanced connections for services like USB and RS-232. For products that support Multiview, you can select multiple sources from the Sources panel. This is the same for simpler devices as well. You can create a remote source by defining a network stream, which can be played on any supported device. Choose a name and a resolution, a streaming protocol, and URL. On the Digital Signage tab, you can view and manage your signage players, such as the Model 890. Here, you can choose a source for your signage, which could be a remote source, a multiview, or a regular source. By expanding the options, you can select specific windows within the signage player to send the video to. To begin, open the DigiSign CMS to design your slides. You can now use the AV over IP widgets if you have a supported model. Drag the widget onto your canvas, resize it appropriately, and save your slide. Each widget will have a window ID, which you can select here to match your desired window. This setup allows you to design signage with a placeholder area for AV over IP, which can then be controlled from this tab. You can save these presets and activate them with a tablet or third-party control system. Imported devices from the Dante Domain Manager, DDM, sync automatically, but you can manually refresh them via the Device Manager page. Expand the receivers and transmitters to view a grid similar to the DDM. When you select a box, the connection is not made immediately. You need to click Apply Connections. Alternatively, you can define connections and save them as a preset. If you have multiple DDMs configured, a drop-down menu allows you to select which one to manage. The Controls page enables you to create controls to send RS-232, IR, and CC commands to one or multiple devices simultaneously. HTTP commands will be available soon. Once created, these controls appear in a list where you can trigger them by clicking play. You can also place them on the dashboard or trigger them via API command. To create a new control, enter a name, for example, Power Off. Select RS-232 as the command type and enter the actual command in hex format. Select the target devices. Test the command. Once you're satisfied, save it for later. It will appear in our list. In the Location section, you can create and manage locations and sublocations, assigning devices to specific areas. This organization helps you find devices more easily in the Device Manager and enhances convenience for end users managing the system via a tablet. Under the Setup section, you can create and configure video walls. We're going to configure the video walls here for use later in the Presets and Routing page. Start by naming your video wall and defining its size, for example, 2x2. Pick the RX for the correct positions. The list filters compatible devices based on your selection. If needed, you can adjust screen sizes and bezels. Let's create a layout called Split V for Split Vertical. Let's create some zones. I'll select these two and call it left side. And these two and call them right side. Now, in addition to full layout, I have the option we made called Split V with 2 zones. Remember, this will show up later in the Presets and Routing page. If the layout is a little off, you can make minor adjustments with this button down here. Remember to save and look. It asks if you want to go to the Presets and Routing page right away. Let's click Not Yet. To create multiviews, arrangements of different sources on the same or multiple screens, you'll need a compatible MuxLab device. Name your multi-view, for example, My Grid, and choose between a single TV or multi-TV grid designer. This grid designer can help you visualize how your stream will look on multiple screens. Let's keep it simple for now and choose single. Arrange your window how you like. Here you can select transmitters. You can add up to 20 screens to your layout. You can change the layering up or down with these buttons. You can also choose which TV we hear. Just click on the audio icon. Check out how each window snaps to a grid. You can change the grid size if you need finer control of where screens go. Muximus has lots of supplied templates, like picture-in-picture, and you can save your own. Once your multi-view is set up, it will be available on the Presets and Routing page. In the User section, create users with different access levels. Add a new user by entering their email. assigning a role, and setting a password. Users can view their API key for third-party control from their profile. Roles define what users are allowed to do, which locations and presets they can access, and which devices they can control. You can also control whether they are allowed to create users themselves, or change device settings. Finally, here's the settings page. We saw this page at the beginning of this tutorial. Remember that if you change the IP address, the controller will reboot and you will have to enter the new IP address in the browser. This is where you can change the date and time, do backups, and restore, for example, if you replace the unit but want the same settings. Here you'll find the support logs, firmware update for the controller, and here's the SMTP tab, where we can add info so that you will receive admin emails. Note that many secure email services nowadays require app passwords instead of just credentials. Here's the info for Gmail and Outlook, but it should be helpful with other providers as well. Thanks for following this brief tutorial, and thanks for choosing Muximus.